I'm not sure what it's like in the rest of the world, but here in Australia, certainly in our big cities, we just do not have enough people to do the work. There's not enough engineers and managers to do the project work that BMS companies currently have. And we do not have a pool of freelancers to draw from to supplement our teams during peaks of work. Because the industry does tend to, in my opinion, run in cycles, peaks and troughs. So through COVID, there was a bit of a dip in the work, of course, or a massive dip. And then the last couple of years, there's been a peak of work and there might be a dip coming up. And it sort of seems to me that our method to get around this is if we need more people, we recruit people. And if we need less people, we let them go or they just leave, as per the previous video. And I think that, people's view on their relationship with work has changed in the last few years. People, they want to work a bit from home. People want to have flexibility to choose where they work and when they work. And I think there's an opportunity for us to think about how we recruit people or how we resource projects. And I think there's an opportunity for BMS engineers and managers to work for themselves, to be either freelancers or to have their own little business like I have. In today's video, I'm going to unpack my thoughts on this. I'm going to give you two examples. The first example will be a very basic, simple example of how you could dip your toe into working for yourself, which is exactly what I did. And then I'm going to skip past all the other 20 examples and I'm going to give you a really out there example, an extreme example of what's possible when you work for yourself, to really push the boundaries of what's actually possible. So the first example is freelancing. And I know because I did this for about 3 years. I freelanced to a mechanical consultancy doing BMS design. So for about 3 years, I was writing specifications for new construction projects, like up to $1 billion projects, BMS upgrades, running tender phases, reviewing technical submissions, site inspections, witnessing, the whole thing for about 3 years. And through that 3-year period, as I started winning more of my own work, consulting direct to building owners and facility managers, I started to reduce that amount. So the first year I probably did 3 days a week. The second year I did 2 days a week. And then third year, 1 day a week. And then I just went on my own completely. So freelancing is a good thing to do because you can basically win work immediately. You don't need to develop all these processes and specifications and get insurances and those sort of things. Well, you might need insurance where you live, but it's much easier to do freelancing. There's much less risk than running your own projects and tendering for big projects with big fees. Now, before you resign, just stop for a moment because it's not that easy. It took me 5 years before I paid myself what I was paid when I was a full-time employee. But I had a big learning curve because I had no one to help me about how the business side of things works. And because I knew BMS consulting and I had a reasonably good reputation in Melbourne, I thought that I would get work really easily. And I always say to people, I thought that people would be falling over themselves to give me work. And that wasn't the case. And just understand this, just because you're good at something, it doesn't mean someone will pay you to do it. That's the easy part. The technical part, the delivery, the execution is easy. What's really difficult is the business side of things. Marketing your business, selling to customers, building your own personal brand. That's the hard part. So I reckon that if I had to start again, I reckon I could take my 5-year learning curve and compress it down to 1 year. Now that I actually know what works and what doesn't work, and now that I know how to communicate with customers and what their pain points are, and how to sell them something. But I didn't have any help with that. So it was really frustrating. I would build something, a solution, and people just didn't buy it. It was a good solution, just no one bought it because they didn't know about me, or I wasn't marketing myself properly, or my personal brand wasn't strong enough yet. I think nowadays people are more open to remote working and freelance working since when I started, because I started quite a way before COVID. The world is a bit different then. I think now there's a lot more opportunities because right now what's happening is you're just working, this is working. You're just doing a job and you're doing what your boss is telling you to do with not enough time. You're working. But it's really amazing. When you work for yourself, you can sort of open your eyes up and when you actually start working for yourself, you'll be amazed how many ideas you get of opportunities. I have a list like this of stuff that I could do to earn money if I just had more time or I had a lot of employees. The opportunities for what we can do as freelancers in the BMS industry or working for yourself, the opportunities are almost endless. I think of a new one every month. I can write it down. Oh, I'd love to do that. That's exciting. And also, there's a lot of new companies popping up every month. You know, when I was a young engineer, you either worked for Honeywell, Siemens, Schneider was TAC then, Honeywell, Siemens, Schneider, or Johnson Controls. You worked for the four manufacturers or you worked for no one in the early days. We never had all these multi-vendor systems. They didn't really exist that much. Nowadays, there's like an oversupply of BMS systems out there. Maybe we have too many even, but what I'm getting at, it is so easy now to have your own business. Now, don't get me wrong, I would never ever start my own BMS business. You've got to be crazy to do that. But all these small businesses are popping up. You know, Niagara agents, Distech agents, and all the manufacturers have their own products that they sell to dealers now. There's so many options. There's all these small companies that need freelancers to help them. So when a small company starts up, there's 5 people there. They don't have a lot of, you know, like project managers, design engineers, software programmers, commissioning technicians, even service technicians. There is an opportunity to be a freelance service technician. I never thought of that before in the past. Like if you're a Niagara service technician or a Distech service technician or EasyIO or Honeywell Spider, Johnson's FX Explorer thing, you know, all these different agents, Schneider, Siemens, if you're agents, like you're a service technician, you would get work. You could get work doing service work. It's like so easy. The point I'm making is this little company wins a big job and they need a dedicated specialist project manager. They come to you and say, look, got this job. We'll give you 1 day a week or 2 days a week for the next 12 months to do project management. Or you're a design freelancer, BMS design. It's on a big job. They give you 3 months worth of work full time. Just smash out this design in the next 3 months. You know, valve schedules, damper schedules, the control strategy documents, the network design, the points lists, control panel design drawings, the graphics design, just design this whole thing 3 months full time. Commissioning technician, my goodness, we need those people desperately. Here in Melbourne, there's a manufacturer that's won a massive hospital in Footscray, a massive hospital in Frankston. If you live here, you know what I'm talking about. Man, they're gonna need commissioning technicians. I wouldn't be surprised if you went to that company and said, I'm a freelance commissioning technician. I've got my own multimeter, got some test instruments, got all my stuff, safety boots, hard hat, whatever it is. Here's my certifications, whatever it is. They would sign you up for 12 months. Yeah, 2 years, 40 hours a week, 2 years, bang, you're done. Don't even look for another customer for 2 years. And then you're on the next job, and you're on the next job, and you're on the next job. There's so many opportunities if you're a freelancer. So that was an obvious one, right? Just pause for a second. I know it sounds exciting. It's not that easy because, as I said before, people will not give you work even if you're good at doing the work and they need the work. There's this whole other thing behind this, your personal brand. These YouTube videos. Why do you think I do YouTube? For fun? I don't get paid to do this. Like, okay, just getting a bit distracted here, but the other day I sat down and counted all the YouTube videos I've done since 2020, and they take about 8 hours to do this 50-minute video. It's like 8 hours. Like, I spend like 2 hours drafting out what I'm gonna say. I spent an hour last night setting my room up. An hour, moved the cameras, the lights, the microphone, everything's moved around. Then I spent about 2 hours in here recording multiple takes of this video. It gets edited, uploaded to YouTube, YouTube description. The thumbnail takes about half an hour to create. The LinkedIn post, it's an 8-hour job, right? So I sat down and I worked out the number of videos multiplied by 8 hours. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here. That's not on my list of things to talk about. And like, actually I've forgotten what I worked it out to be. Give me a second. So at an hourly rate, if I spend all this time working on like revenue projects, I've spent $128,000. I've invested $128,000 of my time on this YouTube channel. Plus, like, that camera costs like $7,000. That light costs $1,000. This microphone is $700 plus the audio interface is $300. Man, I've probably spent $20,000 in this room. These bookshelves are here just for the YouTube backdrop. I don't need those things. So Trine has a bit of something in the background, right? Let me try to remember why I'm even telling you this. Oh yeah, the personal brand, right? I've spent $150,000 in the last 5 years on strengthening my personal brand, raising my authority in the industry so that I can win work. When I was doing consulting work before stopping now, because now I'm full-time training, coaching and mentoring and business-to-business consulting to BMS companies. Before that, I did zero marketing for consulting work. Every month, building owners would contact me. You've got to upgrade, please help us. I'm not lying to you. I'm not joking or exaggerating. I would say no to 8 jobs and then yes to 2. If I like the job, it's really interesting, and I like the customer, we work well together, they don't hassle me, I used to pick and choose these jobs. I'm not joking. 6 p.m. last night, when I was setting up this room, a mechanical consultant phoned me to help them on a big, like 50-story, massive redevelopment project for the BMS. I was like, sorry, I'm working for BMS companies now. I'm not working client side. So when you have your own business, half of it is technically doing what you're good at. The other half is the machine around it that we as engineers know nothing about. So example number 2. So for fun, let's go to the extreme example of what we can do here. And this example is actually why I'm creating this video, because I had this idea about a year ago. I sat down there for a few weeks and was crunching through if I should do this. But I have other things on my business plan that I'm working on, and this is just, it's one of the list of things, right? So what happened is we've got a building, an existing building with an obsolete BMS that needs to be upgraded. So the building owner wants to upgrade their obsolete BMS. It's $1 million project. The traditional way of doing this is that the owner will go out to tender, hopefully with a consultant, to say 3 or 4 different BMS companies to do pricing and do a tender evaluation and get their BMS upgraded. That's the traditional way of doing this for the last 30, 40, 50 years. What I would do is I would go to the owner and put an offer in, a tender, submit a price. And I would basically, I'm calling myself the project director. So I go and get a pool of freelancers, specialists, best in class freelancers. I go and get a salesperson, a design engineer, 2 software programmers, 4 commissioning technicians, and I get a subcontract BMS installer as part of my team. So I create this team. We're not a BMS company, we're a group of specialist freelancers. It's like putting together a special forces team to go and do one special one-off mission. That's what we're doing. I go to the building owner and say, listen, we're in a tender here. Here's your other BMS companies like usual. We're putting a price in. And over here is my team, the project manager, the design engineer, the software programmers, the commissioning technicians, the installer. And each one of these people has their own business. They're all freelancers. They're specialists in what they do. We are not overloaded. We're not an existing BMS company that's trying to do $20 million of work a year that doesn't have enough resources, because everybody else that's tendering against me in this project, it's a salesperson putting in a price that has no idea or care about who will actually do the job. Do we even have the resources to do this project? At the moment, the answer is no, they don't. So you win the job, and the people that get put on the job are already overloaded, they're already burnt out, and 1 or 2 of them will leave before that job is finished. Not in my team. In my team, we are dedicated to your project. We're all doing just your one project. We don't do 2 projects in parallel because we don't do $20 million of work a year. We do one project at a time, all of our focus completely focused on your project. We are quite a lean little group of people because we don't have offices. We don't have these big overheads. We don't have receptionists and all these sort of people. We don't have the overheads. Each one of us, it's our own business. We're completely invested in this project. It's our own business. It's our baby. It's personal to us. We're not just an employee that works for a large company. You know, it's not the situation. I'm telling you now, I don't see how I'm not going to win that job. We are going to win that job every single time, especially because I'm leveraging my personal brand, Bryce Anderson Lifecycle Controls. This building owner knows exactly who I am. And also, here's the key part. For the last 3 years building up to this, I've been nurturing this customer. I've been using my consulting skills to help them do their capital expenditure planning for this BMS upgrading, helping them with getting the pricing right, getting some budget costs together, helping them with their funding request paper that goes up to the asset managers and the shareholders or whatever it is for this building. So I've been working on this opportunity for 3 years as a consultant, working things out, doing a review of the BMS, writing a report. Here's your 10 problems ranked from critical to non-critical, and the budget made to fix each one of these. So I'm nurturing this person. So anyway, we win this job and we're doing this job, right? And then halfway through that job, because I'm not actually working specifically on the job. I'm not the project manager. I'm not the design engineer. I'm not the salesperson. I'm the project director. Halfway through the job, 6 months in, I go to one of my next customers that I've been nurturing also at the same time. I said, listen, Mr. Customer, on June 30, our team will be finished on this project. We're all going to take 2 months off of work, take a break. For 2 months, we're not working. So around about September, we'll be ready to do your project. And it all lines up because I spent 3 years getting this right. The budgeting requests, when the money to be ready for this date, it's all lined up. They're like, yep, let's do it. In September, we come back from 2 months holiday. Our super team is back on the project for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. We just focus on that. A pool of freelancers doing this work. To me, that's pretty interesting. My main point here is that, and like as part what the video is called, right? I think that the way that we resource projects could change in the future. The traditional model of a BMS company doing projects and all the issues that come with that, that's traditional. I'm saying that there's an alternative, a new way to procure resources for projects using freelancers. Let's flip this around. If I worked for a BMS company, all right, I'm not a freelancer, I'm not a consultant, I work for a BMS company, I am the engineering manager. I will be focusing very hard on keeping my core team happy, my core team engaged, motivated, and happy. And then when there's peaks of work, I would supplement them with freelancers. Because what we do now is we tend to do this. We recruit people, we burn them out, and they leave. We start again. We recruit people, we train them, we burn them out, they leave. Recruit, burn out, leave. Recruit, burn out, leave. Recruit, burn out, leave. One more time. Recruit, burn out, leave. We just do that. So let me just pause for a moment, okay? So many BMS companies are crying out for people. But how hard are we trying to retain our existing people? We're not doing that. Like, we're happy to spend a lot of money going to a recruitment agency to find someone, get someone, invest money on training them on the products. We burn them out, they leave. Like, we're happy to do that. We're happy to do that. What are we doing to keep our current staff motivated, engaged, and happy? What are we doing? Like nothing. That surprises me like tremendously. We're happy to waste that money recruiting new starters, train them up, they go through a learning curve, they mess up the first 2 jobs, they get burnt out and leave. We're not doing anything to retain our current people. So if I was an engineering manager, I would keep my core team very satisfied and happy and not overload them, not burn out my core team. I might burn out the freelancer, but that's what I'd be doing. You know, when I was in London for quite a long time, and they had quite a lot of freelancers in those days. I don't know about nowadays, but I remember in London working on projects where I was the BMS design engineer and our project manager was a freelance project manager. Bruce, I think his name was. I remember that. He was a freelance project manager. I remember sitting in the office there, hot desking. I remember there being 2 freelance design engineers working for the company that I worked for. One of them was helping me with design on some of my projects. There's another design engineer there doing points lists and valve schedules, damper schedules, doing design stuff. And I remember that there was labor brokers that we would go to get commissioning technicians. And on most of our projects, we worked on our big projects, all the pre-commissioning was done by subcontractors. So this person would go there, power the control panel up, download the software, do point-to-point testing. And then only near the end of the project, did our actual commissioning technicians, our proper technicians go through and tie up all the loose ends, get everything working. But we're using a lot of freelancers. I come to Australia, for some reason here, there's no freelancers. There's a massive opportunity there for both the freelancer, as we discussed previously, to do work, and there's a massive opportunity for BMS companies to leverage freelancers to help them. If I was a design freelancer, I would go to BMS company and say, listen here, just give me your whole design allowance. Give me your whole design allowance and I will carry the risk. I will deliver this design. If it runs over or there's delays, or RFIs don't get answered, or there's changes, I will absorb all that risk. I will not charge you any variations. I will offload the risk from you. Actually, that's a great, if you're a BMS company, like, that's great. You have the design money, I keep the profit, I offload the risk to you. So freelancing, there's a lot of opportunities, I think, for both the freelancer earning a good hourly rate and the company using the freelancer to supplement their core teams. Let's start wrapping this up because I'm getting very distracted in today's video. I think that, a couple of 100 years ago, or 100 years ago, we had the Industrial Revolution. So we went from making things by hand into having factories and machines to make things. So we had this industrial age where we all worked in factories your whole career. I touched on that before, right? I think that from the industrial age, we then transitioned into what I'm calling the IT age, information technology age, where people all went and started working in commercial offices. Thousands of people, or millions of people working in thousands of commercial offices around the world. All these big cities. I sometimes wonder, what are all these people doing in all these commercial offices? They're not making anything. But anyway, we went from the industrial age into the IT age, where we are now, everyone working in commercial offices. I think that the next age is going to be the social age, because people, like I said before, they have a different view on their relationship with work. People don't want to work like they used to work. Through the IT age, there was this idea of trying to get work-life balance. You work hard for 40 hours and you might hate your job, but in the evenings and the weekends, it was your own time. So we've always wanted this work-life balance, but I think we're past that now. We're moving into the sort of social age. I just made that up, don't Google it, where people want to be engaged at work. They want to be happy at work. They want their work and their personal life to almost come together in that they can work whenever they want to and work from wherever they want to. Work from home, work remotely. Since COVID, I've completely transitioned my consulting business. I was doing projects in other states, never went to the site. Specifications, tenders, fortnightly progress meetings, remote witnessing. I've been doing these projects. I completely transitioned my business from being a site-based consulting business to being a remote business. That's what people want. The industrial age, working in factories. The IT age, working in commercial offices. The social age, working from home a little bit, from hotels in other countries, on holiday. That's what people want, I think. And this video is discussing this idea around thinking differently about, in the building management system industry, how we recruit resources, engineers and managers, as freelancers to do things. Like half of our industry technically could be freelancers with their own business numbers, their own businesses, working exactly how they want to work, working on the projects they want to work on with the customers they trust and they like working with. And that last example was where we put together our own specialist team of specialist, best-in-class design engineer, software programmer, project manager, salesperson, the commissioning teams, and we deliver a BMS upgrade amazingly because every single one of us is a specialist completely dedicated to this. How we resource people for our businesses and for our projects, I think should change. See in the YouTube description box below for links to start your journey. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.